Welcome in, everybody, to another interview segment here on the Plastic Posse podcast. Today, I'm joined by TJ and JB. We have a very special guest. Neil Stokes from AMPS is here to talk with us today about AMPS 2026. How you doing, Neil?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me on, guys. I'm not sure how special I am and whether that's a good way or not, but I'll do my best to keep you all entertained.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you coming on with us and also want to be very, very supportive of you as you lead the society forward and implement changes. And we're going to talk about some of that today.
Appreciate
So
it.
why don't we start? Give us maybe the 10,000 foot view, and let's start with AMPS 2026. Where's it at, and what are the dates? And then let's go from there.
Okay, so we are coming in close now on the AMPS 2026 show. We are doing April 16th through 18th. That's the Thursday through the Saturday in South Bend, Indiana. We're at the Century Center, which is right downtown there. We're kind of a stone's throw from Notre Dame. So if y'all don't recognize South Bend, that's where we are. So we are going to have a whole collection of armor and ground warfare and other kind of geeks turning up there. This is probably our third show that we've done. It's a great venue. We're all in one great big, very brightly lit room. There's a hotel right across the street. It's actually connected by a bridge. Probably a dozen places to eat within walking distance, not to mention the really good bar and restaurant at the Doubletree Hotel, which is connected to the Century Center. So we're expecting to have a really good time. We usually get 700 to 800 models on the table. We blew out our vendor room. We originally were set up for 110 tables. We hit that and had a bunch of people on the backlog. So we're now up to about 136 tables, where the fire marshals are literally telling us no more, guys, because there's not room there anymore. So we're expecting a great show. We're going to have a lot of the usual suspects. People like Squadron, Angel from Micro World Games. David Doyle's going to be there with also I think for the historian, his buddy Larry is going to be there as well. Boomer's Books, the Hobby World USA. I'm sorry if I forgot a bunch of them because we've got literally multiple dozens of vendors, all the way down to people who are just there selling their stash. So it's going to be good pickings in the vendor room. We're going to have some great quality work on display. And we really encourage everybody to come along if you haven't already made your bookings, and have a good time. Interestingly enough, we are by pure coincidence the 7 Years War Society, who are a wargaming group with some. They refer to themselves as a wargaming society with a reenacting problem. But they are also going to be right across the hall from us in the same venue the same day. So we got talking with their folks, and we sort of twinned the two events. So their attendees get free entry to our show, and ours get free entry to theirs. So if you see them wandering around the concession stand outside, by the way, we're going to have food and drinks and so on, and places to sit and drool on the stuff you just bought right outside. Like I said, should be a really good time. Anybody who's kind of been paying attention has been looking at a lot of the social media commentary over the last year. We've made a few changes this year. We got a lot of feedback, and it was very good feedback that we needed to improve a number of things with the show, with the judging, with the way we ran things. So we set up a number of work groups that were tasked with looking at specific aspects of how we run the society, what's working, what's not. If there are things we need to improve, how do we do that? Taking ideas, we got a lot of input from social media, but turning those ideas into plans. How's that going to work? How's it going to impact other things? And making sure that, if we change something, it's not going to break something else. So, we've done a number of things. First one, for example, we used to have a rule that said that if you had a vehicle with open hatches and nothing in the hatch, then it went into the open top category, and the interior, or lack thereof, got judged. And that has created a lot of commentary, shall we say, over the years. So we kind of put that one out. That was one of the first things that we talked about in the judging work group. And I remember asking the question, like, does anybody remember why we did this? And deadly silence. Nobody could think of it. And TJ, I remember you brought out your portable soapbox, man, and you go, like, this is insane. Why are we doing this? And again, I asked the question, does anybody have a counter argument to that? And nobody did. So we were like, okay, so we're going to go to the board and say we should kill this rule because it's stupid. And so we did that. Another example was there's a point on the judging form for degree of difficulty. And everybody had their own interpretation on what that meant. And, a lot of people were like, well, you built a Tamiya kit, so you get 0 for degree of difficulty because all you had to do was shake the box and the thing fell together. But yeah, but what if you did some insanely complicated finish on it, or, you pulled out some crazy burned out wrecked vignette that you did, and the scorching and the burned out stuff and everything looked absolutely marvelous. I mean, come on, guys, that's difficult to pull off well. So we changed the name to scope of effort to try to put a little bit more of that flavor into it. And the judging training, which we have intensively revamped over the past year, reflects a lot of those sort of things. Like, let's try to get everybody on the same page about the philosophy of AMPS and consistently apply the right interpretation, or at least a consistent interpretation, to the judging system that we have. Now, I know that there have been other, I'll call them more radical, put it that way, suggestions that have been made. After a lot of discussion, a lot of reaching out to various people in the organization, we kind of determined that, at least right now, people don't have you're kind of a stomach for some of the more radical options that we have on the table. So we're going to take what we have, tweak it, take some evolutionary steps to improve, and see what happens. Now, if that works and we can improve our quality and consistency the way that we need to, that's great. If they can't, then we'll start to think about other things that we might need to do. And even if the things that we do have work, it's not a one and done, because we want to try to have a philosophy in AMPS that says we are continually questioning what we do, so that what's working. If it's working, let's not fix it. If it's not, can we improve? And what's working today might not be working 5 years from now. So we need to start continually thinking that, so that we keep up with the changes in the hobby and the hobby culture, and that we remain relevant and keep serving our members. Because at the end of the day, the board and the work groups can do whatever we want, but if the members don't like it, then it's no good. Nobody is a law unto themselves in AMPS, or nobody should be. We should be answerable to our members at all times. And social media is great for getting the feedback on that. The problem is, there we get ideas, we don't necessarily get plans. And so what these work groups are all about is taking the input that we get and saying, okay, is that going to work? If it's going to work, how is it going to work? What breaks if we do that? And how do we make sure that we get an overall improvement going forward? We've done a hell of a lot of work in the background. I can't speak highly enough about our webmaster and overall tech guru, Chuck Rothman. He has a full-time job and a family and a life, and yet he's putting in loads of hours in the background to make sure that all the operational stuff has been working, so that registration, the check-in of the models, the judging, the data entry, everything, to the point where it pops out a piece of paper that we can read out at the award ceremony is working. In future, we have plans to update and revamp the website itself, because it's good. It does its job, but it's not really up to 2025, 2026 standards. And so we do need to make some improvements there to the overall user experience type of thing. So that's going to be on our agenda for the coming year. And yeah, if anybody wants to help and get involved in doing that, please let me know, because we will definitely be able to use people's skills and opinions.
Now, you mentioned me about the open top thing, because that
Yeah,
was
man, I was cheering you when
I
you did
was I was
that.
very passionate about that,
Yes.
and I believe my case against it hinged boiled down to there's a certain other modeling society that does that rule, and if they do it, that's a good reason not to do it. That got a
Well,
pretty good laugh from from
it
most of the
did.
people in the
Yeah,
work
I ain't
group.
going to get into that whole one, but it was funny because that rule came into play in 2005, which was the first AMPS that I attended. If most people will know, I grew up in Australia and lived all over the world, but landed in this part of the planet in late 2004, and like scratching my head, like why are we doing this? Okay, well, whatever. Thankfully, the only model I took to the show that year was a Panzer IV-J with a complete interior in it, which I had done with Tank Workshop resin and various scratch built parts. But so the interior rule didn't hurt me. But yeah, I mean, there was people putting blobs of blue tack with cocktail sticks and a head on there. Look, there's a figure in the hatch. And nobody could figure out quite why we'd done that. So yeah, I mean, it's like if nobody has a reasonable rationale for doing it, then let's not do it. Why overcomplicate life?
Yeah, I remember last year my big contention with it was the piece that I brought had an open hatch but no interior,
Mm-hmm.
and the week before the show, I made a tarp just to put on that hatch just for the show, even though it completely ruined how I wanted it to be presented, and it did not match the picture that I built the whole thing off of, because it did not have a tarp. Which, of course, I popped that tarp off when I gave the model away to Mr. Hobbs. But
Right.
yeah, I complained louder than I think anyone at the work group meeting. And then this year, I'm bringing something that has open hatches that I put a full interior in, because
Yep. Now
I guess that's how it goes.
enter it in open top category then, because
Oh,
then
it is. Yeah.
yeah, that's good, because that was the way of it, is that we will not, even if you put an interior and if you put it in closed top, we'll only judge down to the hatch combing. If you want your model with the interior judged, then enter it in open hatch.
And it's funny
Now
because
we
Pat Brown and I have had Pat Brown is not in favor of that change. Pat's a great guy. He's one of the best dudes ever.
oh yeah, I love that.
Ever since that work meeting, every meeting, AMPS meeting that we've had, he's a member of our chapter. I think he's the vice president, actually. I can't remember. I don't remember who all the officers are, other than me being the president. But we've had that conversation, I think, in every meeting, about how he does not like that change.
Arm
And
wrestling, yeah.
every time he brings it up, all I have to say is, Pat, I hear you, but you're wrong, and it's okay. We can move on. You can just admit that I was right.
We are not going to please all the people all the time, and so it was one of the things that we've tried to do, is to make sure that any of the changes we make go through some filtering, and that everybody on the judging work group has their say on things. We take that to the board. We also along the way try to gather as much input as we can from various types, people that we know are going to be a bit more progressive in thinking, others who may be the curmudgeons of the group, just to get a feel for how the general membership is going to think about things. We come up with a consensus that says this is what we think we ought to do, and we take that to the board. Nothing gets approved unless it goes to the board, because the board represents the members, and at the end of the day, as I said, we are answerable to our members. So we want to make sure that we are making sure that we go through that process, and also that we explain what we're doing. When something gets approved by the board, you'll see a post from me or Vickers or somebody saying, "Hey, this is what we decided on. This is why we did it. We looked at this idea. We thought it was a bad idea because of these reasons." And yeah, not everybody is going to agree, but at least you'll understand what we did. And if you want to have more of a voice, that's great. Jump on the work groups, get involved. We are not being exclusive on any of this stuff.
So going back to the show, let's say I am attending. If I was an attendee, when should we enter our models? When do you recommend we bring our models?
Well, we normally wind up with, it was funny, you go back 10 years or more, and it was like, there were a few diehard lunatics there on Thursday night. And then you got a big rush on Friday morning, and then it petered off, and then you got a big rush on Saturday morning. But the show has changed. Yeah, I remember people were going around going, yeah, it's all about the models. Well, yes, it is still very much about the models, but it's also now about the people and about the community and about just being there and hanging out and enjoying each other's company and the camaraderie of it. So we found that we now get a massive deluge of models on the Thursday night because everybody turns up. They want to be there. Oh, while I'm here, I'll check my models in. Then they'll be in the staging area. Now that's created a few problems because we sometimes run out of staging time. I have personally always found the best time to enter your model is probably mid-morning on Friday. Now it's not to say you shouldn't be there for Thursday, because some of the vendors will actually sell half their stuff by late afternoon on Thursday. The last time we were at South Bend, we had a guy come for the first time. I swear half of his stash was gone by the time we officially opened the show. He was a very happy camper because he was in the black, in like the first couple of hours. But yeah, I have noticed that we get a lot of models come in on the Thursday, and I've also, this is purely a personal opinion, but I've noticed that models that I've checked in on the Thursday night seem to get judged tougher than the models I've checked in on Friday.
100% that happens. I'm glad an official statement from AMPS right there, or maybe it's
like I said, that is just purely Mr. Neil's personal opinion. But I have noticed this over a number of years.
Oh, 100%. I mean, everybody, in those first couple sessions, you're kind of getting the swing of things. Also, you're taking your time because you want to get it right. So you're maybe looking at the model a little bit more. Mm-hmm. By Friday evening, Saturday morning, you're like, I just want to get this friggin' pile down. Yeah. So I completely understand that. So for our listeners who've never been to AMPS before, and those who haven't entered but maybe attended the show, talk about the unique aspect of AMPS where I enter my model, but I don't put it on the table. I actually give it to somebody at the ramrod station. What does that look like? And talk about that.
Good point. So you bring your model to what we call the ramrod station, model check-in station, call it what you will. So you come, you have your paperwork there. Somebody is going to check your paperwork to make sure that everything is present and complete. And they're going to put that with your model, and they're going to put it in a staging area, which is going to be this year just inside the judging room. At that point, it's kind of not visible to the public, and that's something that we're trying to figure out how to balance, because some models might not necessarily get out on the table until later in the show because it takes a while to get them through. But it will sit there. We do have every model gets assigned a number in the order in which it arrives. So the intent is that the first model's in or the first model's judged, and then they go out onto the display table once they're judged. But yeah, your model goes into the staging area. It then goes to a team of 4 judges. Each of those judges sits around, and as a team, they sit your model on a turntable. They turn it around. They have a look at it. They've got a spotlight that sits up above. No, we don't like picking up models, and they will examine your model, and they will give it a grade out of 10. And there are specific things that they're looking for. So, are all the wheels and the tracks touching the base? Do you have floaters? Do you have seams? Are your decals silver? There's things that they specifically will look at. They will give your model a score out of 10. We throw away the lowest score, so you wound up with a score out of 30. And then if you've done some research to accompany the model, like you've got some photographs and of the specific vehicle that you've built, for example, and you've shown what you did to alter the kit or whatever to match that, then you get an extra half point. So the overall score becomes a score out of 30.5 points. And then depending upon the score that you get, determines whether you get a gold, a silver, a bronze, or nothing at all. And there are various categories. There's basic, intermediate, advanced, and we've brought in a new expert category this year because advanced was getting a little clogged. So we wanted to give people somewhere to go. And the score level you need to medal at each of each of those levels is slightly different. So for example, you can get a gold in basic more easily than you get a gold in advanced. But you're not competing against each other. You're competing against that judging standard. So if 10 models in a particular category, the closed top Allied World War II, all deserve a gold, then we're going to give out 10 gold medals. And occasionally we've had no gold medals in a particular category. Okay, that's fine. So that's the way it works out. The only time that you wind up competing against each other is if you get a sufficiently high score. Basically, if you're the top 5 or 6 scoring models in a particular category, then you're going to qualify for the best of in that category. So we'll have best Allied, best German, the show theme award, those sorts of things. And then, it does become a comparative judging process where we sit those models on a table in the judging room towards the end of the show, and we go around and look at each one of them and get. And when I say we, it's usually the assistant chief judges with the show's chief judge casting a deciding vote in case we have a tie. Then it becomes a vote of over about a half a dozen people, and that's the best ofs. And then we take those best ofs and they go together and we judge the best in show. So that's kind of the way the process works. And then after each model is judged, it will go out on the table and everybody can then see it. But if your model disappears about the middle of Saturday afternoon, don't panic, because it doesn't mean somebody stole your model. It just means that we've grabbed it and taken it in the back because it's in the contention for one of the best of awards.
Excellent. Well, I think that's a really good rundown for people that haven't. No, that's what we want you to do. What are some other things if somebody again hasn't been to an AMPS National? What are some other things besides the contest and the judging that they're going to experience? Maybe talk about, you mentioned you've got a lot of vendors, which sounds really, really good, but what else do they have to look forward to, Neil?
So we have vendors. We have obviously the competition. There's a lot of people to talk to. Just it feels like a big dysfunctional family reunion, complete with the weird cousins, because we have a lot of those. There's going to be just a lot of really nice people to hang out and talk with and share ideas. One of the things that we've really found is that it really is, people aren't afraid to share stuff with each other because you're not competing against each other. It's not like, oh, well, if I show you how to do something, you're going to win next year and I'm not. Well, no, if you getting a gold does not prevent me from getting one. So, let's all help each other out. The intent here is to be the best modeler that you can be and to help everybody else do the same. We will have a number of seminars. I think we've got a couple of hands-on ones this year and a couple of just, sit and listen to someone, present on a particular topic. But, for example, one of them is, doing sculpting and building tarps. And, you're going to get your hands on there and actually, get to try that out with some folks who, have proven that they're pretty good in the past. Jeff Feller is one of our AMPS masters, is one that pops to mind here.
Yeah, he's all right
doing stuff for you. Yeah, Jeff's a good guy. But it's come along. Enjoy each other's company. Get to see a hell of a lot of good models and eat a lot of food, drink a lot of beer. These sorts of things.
Absolutely
all contribute to the camaraderie of it. And we have people come from all over the U.S., Canada. Our farthest flung last year was from New Zealand. Andrew Meesey came up, hung out with the Insanity guys, and they brought him out. And we have folks from the UK have come over. It's very much an international community, and we have a good old time. One thing I should point out about this year too, we changed the best ofs somewhat. One of the things we noticed was that there were a couple of categories, specifically the ordnance category, artillery and rockets and stuff, and also the sci-fi category, where there was no sort of path through best of to make those models eligible for best in show. So we changed that this year. So there is a best ordnance and there's a best sci-fi award, which we actually had last year. But now those are placed on the table and are in contention for the best in show. So in previous years, if you did a sci-fi model, for example, you couldn't win best in show unless it was a diorama or a vignette, and kind of like came into the in there individually by winning the best of in those categories. So we took that out and avoided any what I like to call second class models. Every model that lands on the table in the competition should be judged on its own merits and eligible for the best in show. If it's the best thing in the room, then it should win. We actually did that at ArmorCon last year. Steve O'Connell won best in show for a really nice Warhammer piece that he did. And we all just looked at him and goes like, yeah, well, it's the best thing here. Let's do it. And so, again, not saying that will be the case this year at the Nats, but if it is, then so be it.
Yeah, that's how it should be. I agree. Going back to seminars, I've got your website pulled up here. It looks like Chris Lloyd Staples, Jeff Feller, some guy named Bonani, Chris Cosley, David Doyle, Ken Childress, David Hobbs. Man, what a lineup!
You did me dirty though. You gave me 8 a.m. on Saturday, which is ridiculous. I want to renegotiate.
Talk to Pat Vest.
I thought Pat and I were friends, but he's.
You may have to you may have to rethink that.
Everyone's gonna be looking forward to a very hungover JB.
Yeah,
I've had I copped that spot once or twice. So it happens.
Taking one for the team for sure.
Yeah, go beat up Pat.
That's right.
I'll pre-record it and then just push play while I'm not there. I'll zoom in from my Airbnb bed.
I'll never tell.
I also wanted to bring up, it looks like this year's, you have a show theme each year, and this year's theme is
Vietnam, which is not just, what we Americans think of as the Vietnam War, but, going back to the French colonial situation in the 50s, Dien Bien Phu, that sort of thing, back into Japanese in World War II, basically if it involves armor and it took place in the Indochina region, then, bring your models along. I have a particular love for the French colonial stuff in the late 40s and 50s because you could find anything. It was like they went through the scrapyards of Europe and just brought stuff. There was talk about a Panther. It never got there, but they did think about it. But there's there's all kinds of different Shermans, Stuarts, Amtraks. There are SDKZ 251s that they grabbed off the Germans and sent out there. All sorts of crazy stuff. Repurposed Japanese World War II armor. Yeah, and then of course there's the Chaffies and all the things that came post-war, and then leading into again what we view of as the Vietnam War through the 60s and 70s. So it's a great, very broad topic, lot of scope. Obviously, we're a month out, so if you haven't started building your model now, it's kind of getting a little too late. But yeah, it was a great thing. The way we take the show themes each year is we have an annual general meeting. As a 501c not-for-profit, we have to have an annual general meeting. We do that on the Friday night, and the last thing that we discuss at that meeting is the show theme, and we take usually 6, 8, 10 suggestions. We have a first round vote to bring it down to 2, and then we have a second round vote that says, okay, here's what the theme will be. And so we don't get everybody come to the AGM, but we get a good 150 odd people will turn up. So it is it's voted on and decided by the members at the show. So yeah, we don't impose the theme on anybody. It really is a crowdsourced thing, and that came up. I don't think we even went to a second round vote last year when we did it, because everybody was just like, "Oh yeah, that's fabulous. Let's just do it." Yeah, it won hands down.
So swinging back to the show, sorry, specifically the judging. If someone wants to judge at AMPS, if they're attending the show, what exactly do they have to do? Because I know you talked about some revamped judging criteria. So should people be prepared before they come to the show?
Yes, they definitely should. So the way we work it is, like I said, you're judged by, or you're not, but your model is judged by a maybe in the bar we'll get judgy with you, but we'll in the judging room we'll stick to your stick to your models. So it's judged by a team of 4 people. So obviously we need quite a lot of judges. Strongly urge people to take the judging training, which we have spent a lot of time and effort. You mentioned Pat Brown, Steve Reed, obviously our chief judge, Dave Vickers, Mike Petty, who's our former chief judge. I could go on because there's quite a lot of people who've been on in that group, and I thank every one of them because they put a hell of a lot of work in there. TJ, you were part of that as well, and we've come up with with an updated judging training scheme. So there's a slide deck that is on the AMPS website, so you can go look at that. On the 20th and 21st of this month of March, Dave Vickers, our chief judge, is running 2 online Zoom sessions. They're about an hour each. And you only need to attend one to take people through the updates to the system. And then in the mornings of Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at the show, we will have in-person judges training as well. We're also doing judging for table captains. Basically, can you do math? Because you're going to have to add up those scores. And also the assistant chief judges, who are the guys running we kind of think of them as the pit bosses who run the judging shifts. So they get some sort of additional training as well. But if you want to judge, please take the training there. One of the things we found last year, we got a lot of feedback, was that the quality of the judging wasn't necessarily great, and it was often inconsistent. And so we want to make sure that we give people an idea of what the AMPS judging philosophy is, how the guidelines should be applied, so that everybody's kind of working on this the same way. And that way, we hope that will improve both quality and consistency of the judging. Now, we had a really good judging training system prior to COVID. We judged and trained hundreds of judges there. Post-COVID, it kind of fell away a bit. And now we really feel that, given the new influx of membership that we have, a lot of those folks are really enthusiastic and want to help with the judging, which is great. But they need to have that background so that they're coming in with an informed idea of how to apply the judging rules. So so please take. We're going to give multiple options there to say you can go do the online training at any time. If you want to do Dave's Zoom calls on the AMPS website, there's a sign up link there, and they'll send you the link to the Zoom. When I was talking with the team on Thursday night, we were well upwards of 50 people had signed up, which is great. So we're not going to absolutely require that you take the training. I'd like to be in a state where we've got enough trained judges that we can do that. We'll see whether we can get there. One additional incentive is that, as people who've judged at AMPS previously will know, if you do 2 judging shifts, it's a 2-hour shift. If you do 2 judging shifts, you get yourself a T-shirt. Attending the training counts as 1. So however you do the training, that'll get you 1 ticket, or your name will be on a list there. And when you get 2 tickets, you take your tickets to the raffle table, and George will give you a T-shirt. And
I love that
go ahead.
incentive. It's pretty cool. You get a T-shirt if you do 2 shifts. I've got a couple T-shirts myself from doing a couple shifts at various shows. I did not get one from when the theme was South African. I think I only did 1 shift, and I was disappointed because that was, I think, one of the best logos that we've had for a Nats. Absolutely love that logo.
Harry Crossley did a great job on that. TJ, go see the raffle guys this year. I'm pretty sure we can. We'll have some leftovers from last year that we can bring.
Good. I'll have to try
we
to
did get
snag
rid of a
one.
lot of the really old ones, but I think we've still got some stuff from previous years. So if you go to the raffle table, I'm sure we can sort you out.
No, that's awesome. So for a judging team, again, if no one's ever attended before, what does a judging team look like? You had mentioned HDJs, but let's say my model gets entered, goes back to the ramrod station, and then it gets judged. How does that happen? And what makes AMP's process of evaluating models unique when compared to other 4-letter organizations?
Okay. So we, like I said, there are 4 folks who will sit there at the table. We one of the things we've built into the assistant chief judge training this year is to try to make sure that we don't get 4 new judges, so that at least 2 of the judges are going to be experienced. Having newbies there is great, but obviously, you want some people who've got experience, who've worked with the system, hopefully have gone through the previous generations of the training. The other thing we want to try to do is to break up groups of friends. Because we found from prior experience that when you get 4 buddies sitting around there, first of all, they take forever because they all start jawing with each other, and it takes an hour to judge a model. But they also tend to get into a kind of a nitpick fest. That's never a good thing. I mean, you want to be fair, but at the same time, let's not be cruel. So the idea, each of the judges will go through, and they have a form there which is fairly prescriptive. It'll say, okay, what is the basic hull and bodywork on your model look like, and that includes kind of the turret. What is your what do your tracks and running gear look like, or wheels if it's a wheeled vehicle, etc. Then get into the finer detail stuff, small details, and that's kind of like the build side of things. Then there's a finish side of things. Is the finish well applied? Is there schmutz in the paint? Are there hairs stuck to it? Are the decals silvered, etc.? Is the weathering well applied? Is it consistently applied? And then the last bit of it is that scope of effort. Did they do something absolutely insane here? In which case they just deserve credit and possibly a voucher for therapy for if you built some resin thing from the 80s and actually made it look good. So then the judges come with that consensus. What you'll also get, as well as the score, is on each of the forms we make sure that the judges will put at least one comment about the model. So, what did we like? What did we not? If we dinged you on something, let's actually tell you here what the issues were that we saw, so that then you'll know why did I get beat up on a particular thing. Again, we try not to beat people up too badly, but if you're going to get your points deducted, why did that happen? So then that goes to the table captain. The table captain does the math. He applies the extra point to the team votes on. That person put enough research material in there as well to back up what they've done. So he makes the check mark, does the math, and then passes the forms on. So then a runner comes to the table, takes the model and the paperwork. They put the model on a cart, which we have a runner then takes that out and puts it in the display time. Normally they wait till they got a half a dozen models or so, and then they'll run them out. The paperwork goes to the ACJ, who then looks at the math, makes sure that everybody could add up correctly, make sure that the comments are there and that they're reasonable and not something that's ridiculous. Doesn't happen often, but you never can tell. And also checks the scores to make sure nobody's been too lenient or too brutal, because they'll actually look at the model as well as the score sheets. Well, again, we don't want to be giving out gold medals to everybody, but at the same time, we don't want somebody who's coming in with their first model that they've ever entered in the show, and somebody gives them 4 out of 10 for it, because again, let's not be cruel. We want to encourage people. If they need to improve, then let's give them a reasonable score and give them some constructive comments on how they can get better. So once all of that's happened, again, the model goes out to the display table. The paperwork goes across to our fabulous data entry team, who will key it all into a web app that we have there. The magic happens, and then on Saturday afternoon, we press a button and produce a lot of paper and stand up at the show and give out the awards. The way we normally do that is you will get a manila envelope, letter-sized envelope, with your score sheets and the awards that you got. So if you entered 3 models and you got 2 golds and a bronze, then you'll get handed that. So you can see for each of those models your original entry forms, the score sheets from the judges, and the medals that you got. And then at the end of the awards ceremony, that's when we get into the best ofs, and the final thing we enter is best in show.
Nice. So Neil, also, you've kind of hinted at it. I don't know if we've explicitly talked about it, but if I'm coming to the show, AMPS has multiple tiers as well, from beginner, well, obviously junior, beginner, intermediate, advanced, now expert, and master. And if you could just take a few moments to maybe hit on each of those tiers, what it takes to move up. And then I'd love to spend time at the end talking about this new expert category and what that means to some of us on this call, actually.
So first off, let me kind of start with the juniors. The junior level is open to entry for anybody under the age or 16 years and under. Now, that's not to say that if somebody is 16 years old and is producing brilliant work and they want to enter in what I'll call the senior categories rather than entering as a junior, they can certainly do so. But we just want to give the kids some encouragement to come in here, and not be competing, put their models on the table with somebody who's been doing this for 40 years. So that's the reason for the juniors. Now, basic is really for the folks who are just getting into the hobby. If you've done a model or two, this is something that you're coming into later in life, or even if you're younger and you've never built a model. Good friend of mine started doing this at the age of 72, and she's a great character. We met at the ArmorCon show, and she said, my brothers were allowed to do this when I was a kid, and I wasn't. I had to play with dolls and stuff like that. And she goes, I always wanted to do it. Now I can. And she's doing great. But that's the sort of thing where she's entering as a basic, and she's starting to medal consistently and doing quite well at that level. Intermediate is where you've done a few models, or maybe you've been doing this for quite a while, and you just haven't entered competitions before. I was advised when I first started coming to AMP shows, but 2005 was the first one I did. They said to me, enter in the intermediate level, because the way the scoring works will decide it for you. If you go in an intermediate and you get a silver or a bronze, you're probably in the right place. If you get nothing, okay, well, maybe next year you should enter as a basic. If you get gold, the system actually requires you to enter the next time as an advanced. And the same is for basic. If you get a gold at the basic level, then we actually record that, and next time when you go on and fill out your forms online, it will tell you got to go as intermediate. So there's intermediate. Advanced is for the folks who've been doing this for quite a while and are reasonably good at it. We have had people who come in, they've never entered a model in a show before. They've been modeling for 30 years, but they've been doing it in their basement, and they've never even been to a club meeting. The ramrod's job is to look at the model and say, is this person going to get beat up because they're going to be judged to a higher standard than they're really meeting at the moment? And I've done that before, and I tell people what I just said to you. This is what was told to me 20 years ago. I would advise you to either enter intermediate. On the other hand, there's people who were like, damn, that model's beautiful. Let's just, you want to enter it at advanced, you go right ahead. Let's do it. So that's the advanced category. Now, as I said, the model thresholds increase slightly depending upon the level. So you can medal at the basic level more easily, with a slightly lower score than you will at intermediate or advanced. Now, what happened was, over the 30 odd years that AMPS has been around, we got a lot of people who have slowly moved up over through the categories and are winding up as advanced modelers. So we'll have a few basics, we'll have a bunch of intermediates, and then we'll have an absolute swarm of advanced modelers simply because they have scored a gold at the intermediate level. Now we were kicking around. So what do we do about this? Do we put another level in above that? It starts to get in a score out of 10. It starts to get rather squeezy because out of 30, we're now saying you got to get 28 and a half to be a gold. So now that's not a lot of latitude to say, okay, what do we now make? 29 and a half? Do we make a perfect score and you're something above that? So somebody came up, and I forget exactly who it was, came up in the judging system and said, well, what about if you get sustained excellence? So a certain number of gold medals at the advanced level, do we put you into another category? And we kicked around what the idea we eventually settled on expert category. But basically, if you get 10 gold medals at any national AMPS national show, then you will qualify for the for this expert category. Now, the only difference there, there's still some discussion about, do we judge those folks even harder, or do we judge them at the same level as the advanced? That's still kind of being kicked around a little bit there amongst the team. So we'll have some guidance on that in the training sessions that we're going to be running. But the other thing is, you don't get a bronze if you're competing at expert. You either bronze counts as nothing. If you get to the level where you're getting a silver, you'll get a silver or gold. So that is the new expert category, and we can talk a bit more about that later, John. Now, master is different. Master, there at the moment, there's again some things that we're thinking about there, but are not on the table at the moment. But right now, the way to get to master is the he or she who wins best in show at the AMPS International Convention each year. So and that gets you up to master. The masters are, up until this year, we have been judging, having only the masters judge other masters. That has been problematical because it's been difficult to get a bunch of masters together at any one point. Herding cats is one thing. Herding masters is a level up above that. So we are going to judge the master level models the same way that we judge the others this year. We'll see how that goes. That may or may not create some problems. We'll see we'll see what happens there. But generally, we ran that idea past the masters that are around, and they were all cool with that. And we figured that if they were cool with it, then probably everybody else should be as well. So that's where master goes. Like I said, there have been some ideas, other ways to get to master. We'll see how that goes. We got a few other things that are in the pipeline for the judging work group. We'll make more announcements about that over the coming year. So that's really the somewhat how the sausage is made.
Again, for those that haven't been to an AMPS show before, you're not going to see a lot of aircraft. What is it specifically that AMPS stands for, and what are you looking for as far as models that are eligible for the competition?
Probably should have told you that right back at the start, shouldn't I? So AMPS is the Armor Modeling and Preservation Society. That is a somewhat loose thing in that we are about ground warfare, mechanized ground warfare. So we normally say from 1899 onwards, vehicles, figures, artillery, etc. If you want to enter a soft skin vehicle, that's fine. So that's why I say armor is a little bit loose because if you want to enter a Jeep, that's fine. It doesn't have armor on it, but that's okay. But also anything that operates on or primarily over the ground. So, for example, some of the Maschinenkrieger stuff, TJ. If it's a hover tank, so what's the Krakenvogel and things like that. The Sphinx, which is a hover vehicle, the Nutcracker, those any of the suits, they don't have wheels or tracks, but they operate on feet. That's all fine as well. So I always put it in Star Wars terms. Bring your AT-AT, but don't bring your Millennium Falcon. And then, of course, there's the Gunpla stuff, which again is largely ground based, or even if they shoot around on rockets, they land on the ground eventually. Yeah, bring that stuff. So it's all good. We're quite open. But again, no ships, no airplanes. Although we did one year have a Millennium Falcon on the table at ArmorCon. It was in display only. But the guy brought it up, and we looked at it, and we said, well, it can't enter the competition, but it's too damn beautiful not to put on the table. And so he said, but you put it in display only, and he did. Those sort of things are at the chief judge's discretion.
Do you have to be a member of AMPS to come to the national convention?
To enter the competition at the nationals, yes, you must be an AMPS member. To walk in the door and go hang out with people and go to the vendor table and stuff, no, you do not have to be. We also, of course, run regional and local shows in lots of different locations, and that is at the hosting chapter's discretion as to whether or not you need to be a member. Most of them do not.
Excellent. And what is the cost to become a member of AMPS?
So the cost is $25 a year.
Okay.
That is that's if you're a U.S. member, or they're slightly different if you're overseas. The majority of our members are here in the U.S. Some in Canada. We have a handful around the world. That's something we are working on because we want to provide more value to people who are not in the United States, and that's another thing that we as a board, and we have a work group assigned to that, is how do we make ourselves provide more value to a global audience. So, but yeah, $25 a year that goes towards providing you with our Boresight magazine. And we also do a number of other things. We're setting up some partnerships with various preservation organizations, with various veterans organizations to support them, various museums, etc. To try to put the some of the preservation also element of this, and not just the modeling. But this is we're a community that is focused on celebrating and preserving military history and supporting those who are serving and who have served. And if there are organizations who have those same goals, then we want to help them. And so we're now getting to a point where financially we're able to do that. COVID hit us hard. I'll be absolutely honest. The finances were going down. We turned the corner on that with Tom Faith, our treasurer, did a fabulous job containing our costs during COVID and keeping us afloat. We've been able to turn the corner on that, and now we're at a point where we can start to really look at what can we do to invest back, both internally within our memberships or benefits to our members, and also to broaden those relationships with other organizations that are of a similar bent.
Excellent. Yeah, that's fantastic. The website is amps-armor.org, correct?
Yep. Yes, sir. www.amps-armor.org. And there's all of the show details and so on are there on the homepage. You don't have to log in, but then there's a whole bunch of things like we also have reviews that we provide. That's also available both to non-members as well as to members. Our magazine is also published there online as well as in print. And we have obviously a lot of other resources like the judging rules, and everything is up there. We try to be as transparent as we can. You kind of you know what you're getting, or at least we hope you do. And if you don't, let us know, because we'll try to do something about that.
Yeah, and I'll just echo that, Neil. You've been very accessible to us as a podcast and as people. You've been very warm. All of us came last year, and you were there and talking to people, and you're a great. It has a little bit more of a family feel, and something that I really appreciate. I think you use the term dysfunctional family reunion, but honestly, it's really great, and it's a lot of fun. So
it's a great bunch of people, and we try to be as friendly and as welcoming as we can to anybody who comes through the door, because that's what it's all about. Say it's about the models, but it's about the people who build the models most of all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, John, any other final questions or remarks for Neil?
I'm good. Thanks so much, Neil. I really look forward to seeing you in just, I think, about 4 weeks. That's when the show is. So
I'll be there on the evening of the 15th, and then we run the show 16th through the 18th, and then we all disperse to the Four Winds again on the Sunday.
Have you decided where 27 is yet?
27 is going to be back in Camp Hill.
Oh, hell yeah.
Pennsylvania. The reason that we a couple of years ago, when we were just coming out of the COVID scenario and trying to rebuild things and get ourselves back on our feet, both the Camp Hill venue and the South Bend venue came to us and gave us some absolutely wonderful deals. They're great venues, and it was literally an offer we couldn't refuse. So we've done that. So we get 27. Yeah, 28 is we're going to be back in South Bend, because that was our second one for of the 2-year deal. We got some ideas for 29. I can't say anything yet, but we're looking to move a bit further afield. That might annoy some people, but on the other hand, it will also make some other people very happy. Because if we are going to be a national or international organization, we really need to do more for our members west of the Mississippi. And
I love it.
That's something that we're really trying hard to do. We've already got some things that are going to be happening this year. Again, that's up to particular chapters, so I'm not going to be talking much more about that right now. But there's a lot of interest, and the organization is giving those chapters all the help we can. So over the coming months, you'll start to see some announcements there about local and regional shows and various events happening further afield.
Awesome.
No, just keep it in Camp Hill forever.
I love that venue.
Makes my life so much easier. It's less than 2 hours from my house.
Whoa, we're talking though. We also have a joint event. Well, it's MVPA's event, the Military Vehicle Preservation Association, in June. That's in Fishersville, Fishersville, Virginia. Yep. Not all that far from you.
It is not. That's also like 2 hours from my house.
North Virginia AMPS and Central Virginia AMPS are going to be participating in that. Brian Eberly, our national secretary, and myself are also going to be there. It's the MVPA's national convention, so they model in 1-to-1 scale, and they have graciously invited us to come along and be part of that. So we're going to have folks there promoting AMPS. We're going to do a make and take for kids. Yeah, we're just going to be there and have some fun. I'm told they have some serious barbecue people coming, so the food should be good, and so that'll be a great event to do. But yeah, TJ, you and I need to talk more about that one, because we need to start thinking about logistics.
Yep.
Yeah, just making sure that we have enough people there at the various times. So
yes, the Novamps Club is excited to support. I brought it up at our last meeting last month, and I'm going to bring it. We have a meeting again next weekend. I'll bring it up again next weekend, and start finalizing some stuff. Figure out who's going to be there and doing what.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, awesome. Well, 31 days left, everybody. That's how much time you have left to get those models sorted.
Get
So
those
that
paintbrushes out.
that's right. That's right. Thursday, April 16th to Saturday, April 18th at South Bend, Indiana, the 2026 National Convention. Again, it's amps-armor.org. And Neil, thank you so much for taking some time to spend with us today. I just want to say, as a longtime AMPS member and a member of our chapter out here in Utah, thank you for being open to change and allowing this to evolve and to bring, more people and different ideas into the organization.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the support you guys have given us, and for the opportunity to come on and talk to you today. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to 2026 and beyond with AMPS. It's going to be great. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Neil.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
You all take
thank
care.
you.
Bye for now.